welcome everyone. Hi Sushant, hi Steve, and everyone else who are here and who is watching the recording. Welcome. We are just less than a month away from our TPPW cohort starting in Bangalore. And this particular session was intended to be part of our promo campaign. But thanks to all your very enthusiastic response, we have now planned this more as a orientation session to share a little bit about the program, also to clarify any logistical questions around arrival or departure or any other such questions. So that's the very limited agenda for today.
As Hari said, this webinar was essentially to recruit as well. And so we had designed it reasonably differently. We are amazed and happy that we had all of the registrations happen on or around pre the early bird. So, and therefore we are in a good position where we have a whole month where we are full up. That said, today's agenda is really just a meet and greet to take care of the logistics, any FAQs that you may have. Hari will send out some pre-read, not too many, but a few pre-reads for you to read prior to coming to the lab. And 45 minutes or so, we would like for Shushanto to talk about Sumedhas as an organization and more particularly the genesis of the logo, which is interesting. As also to talk about the origins of process work in India and the shape and form it's taken and get some understanding of what process work is. So that's what we thought would be the rearranged design for today's meeting. But before we launch into that prearranged design, are there anything that is on top of your mind that you'd like us to work with, discuss in the 90 minutes that we have today? Yes. So who'd like to talk about any other business?
Just wanted to know, I know it's a residential program, but is it must that we need to stay back, or can we travel back and forth given the time, or is there work that happens in the evening as well?
Okay. Are there any other questions besides whether is it really a stay in residential program or can we go out in the evening or go back home? Any other questions?
Fine.
Yeah.
Would love to hear what we can expect from the lab.
Okay. I'm going to just respond to it with the answers to both. On the first one, can we go home? The whole idea of the residential program is such that it creates a container from the time we start the program till the time we close the program. And and in that container, we would certainly like for all participants to be in that space and to use the time for whatever reflections may come up, and that belongs to the space. And in terms of interactions, we would encourage folks to interact over dinner, in the evening, walks, and so on, but to contain all of that in that space itself, because there's a lot of stuff that would start to churn, and we would like for it not to get dissipated by folks going back in the evening, going back home, or perhaps even socially meeting friends from outside. But if there are friends that you are meeting prior to coming to Bangalore, you could probably come a day earlier or stay back and meet them at the end of the program. But we would really like, if you can, for this 4-5 days, work with this container that we've built in. In terms of what to expect from the lab, we will respond to that sometime later during the during these 90 minutes. Okay. So with that, I will hand over to Shushanto to talk about Sumedhas, process work, and the objective of the TPPW. Sushanta, have you got Dada on mute or what? You'll have to unmute, Shushanto.
No, I've asked him.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for this early response. It makes our life a lot easier and actually creates the ground for you to gain much more from the program than the fees you paid for. Okay. Why? The Mula mantra of this program is attention is everything. Process work is a fancy name. We have to give names. We've taken a name. We might like to change it also in future. But the central life of this work is our attention. We are human beings because we have attention. Right? And the whole issue is, our whole struggle of being human actually is to be able to keep this attention in good shape and at the right place, and what we give our attention to defines our identity. So Attention is everything. The idea of having a residential program is it's like a retreat, no? All of you must be familiar with that idea and concept. So for these few days, put your attention into it. And once you move back home, you will obviously be able to attend to everything else. But this investment which you're making in yourself will be served best if you say, all right, these few days, 4 days, my attention is on this and this alone. Hence, retreat based kind of a thing. I used to have a preference for something which is outside the city, but that's becoming more and more difficult and challenging. Venue is a convenient one. It has served us well till now. In fact, all the 7 workshops of TPPW have been held there itself. The reality is that if your attention is activated, I mean, I'm sure you will once you get in there, you will find learning sessions also. Yeah. So I would recommend, unless there's an emergency, unless there's something really, pulling your attention away back home or something, advisable to stay put. So that's the wise words I have about answering that question about staying on the campus or not. Yeah. I don't recall who it came from, but that is the response. You'll gain the most by saying, unless there's an emergency, which of course we won't stop you from then doing.
Thank you.
Sushanta, now up to you to elaborate on the logo, the origin of process work, and the objective of the TPPW program.
Yeah. All right. Let me go to the. I started work on this, designing this program 10 years back now, more than 10 years back. Why? Because till then, much of the work of process work was seen as mysterious. So the design began because it occurred to me that there are two kinds of learning. One learning is that which can be handed down, like physics or maths or history. They're based on facts and they can be handed down. You can learn it. But music, art can't be taught. They can be learned. Cycling, for instance, can't be taught. It can be learned. Swimming can be learned, can't be taught. And so is process work. Unfortunately, process work, given the kind of dramatic impact it can have, had acquired a quality of something out of this world, magical, spiritual, all kinds of, oh, people break down in labs and so on and so forth. And that irked me. I said, no, there's actually a serious science and method behind the whole thing. It's just that it is different. And why is it different? What is different about it? What is different about it is that process work is committed to dealing with human beings as a whole entity. Now, when it's a whole, it obviously means also a boundary. And there's something inside that boundary, something not inside that boundary. So, what is a human being consist of? One is action, thought, and feeling. The other is identity. All kinds of things you can say a human being is made up of. The human being is also made up of the environment that the human being is living in, grows up in. We internalize our parents, we internalize our environments. I saw my guru Pulin Garg once responding to a psychological test of some people who were not known, but I saw him teaching a group of about 10 psychologists, senior people. I was a youngster that time. I had begged to be allowed to sit like a fly on the wall and see what's happening. And I see him looking at one of the responses of the respondents saying, this man is not, and the sample had come from America, psychological tests. And he says, this guy doesn't look like he's an American. Because he's probably lived in single storied houses. And the psychologist group then checked back and found that that was true. This guy was a migrant Syrian and was living in America now. So, this was, of course, the most extreme magic which I saw, but less extreme magics, which I not only saw, but I also experienced but couldn't explain. So, I did have this idea of, can we become more and more aware of what is it that this so-called magic consists of? And I guess the time came right in 2015 when this program, in a sense, crystallized in my mind. It took me 6 months to design it because I didn't know how to quote unquote teach it, but I did figure out how understanding it can be accelerated, and that it has a very interesting quality, process work, and that is each person can develop his own her own style. It's much like painting, no two painters will paint the same thing identically, and that's what then came about. So that's how the program started. To respond to Steve's question about History of process work. Process work is a term coined by a mathematician. Are you all listening? This is very strange, isn't it? And this mathematician was senior to Bertrand Russell in England. Something happened to him in his thinking and explorations that he began to talk about God, and he had to leave England. He finally settled in America. His name is N. Whitehead. You can look up in Wikipedia. He did some great, quite fantastic philosophical work. And interestingly, his concept of and definition of uh, this thing called God was very similar to the Sanatani concept. All right. And then it occurred to me uh, after about 15, 20 years of working in it that knowledge will always be less than unknowledge. What we do not know is infinitely larger than what we do know. So, for instance, if you take an Einstein and a Tagore as two of the highest intellects the world has ever produced, there are many more, but if you put all of them together, all their knowledge put together will still be less than what is unknown. So, man's whole existence is actually determined by the things that we do not know, the fear of what we do not know, and also the surprise and delight of what happens when you get to know. Correct? You find this frequently referred to in Tagore's songs. So, and I had a vision once in which I was lying on the beach. We had gone for a lab, and I was lying on the beach at night and looking up at the clear sky and imagined, fantasized that I had a huge pair of arms and hands and scooped all the stars together, and it became a very bright light, but the rest of the sky was still dark. So light exists because darkness exists. Knowledge exists because the ignorance exists. And very interestingly, this is what I understand of the word avidya. So process work is a title given to it, but the process of it is actually dealing with and understanding ourselves, and thereby also understanding other human beings and the context and the nature, the world on which human beings exist. All right. That is my current definition of process work. A slightly mathematical way of describing process work would be that there is nothing which is still, everything is in motion. So, as I'm sitting in front of a beautiful photograph of the Himalayas, it's all still. But the fact is, this is not true. The Himalayas are rising a few centimeters every year. That's at one level. But if you go further down into the atoms and the molecules, it's all consisting of movements, energy movement. And that's exactly what the original Indian philosophy talks about. So, net, what am I saying? Net, I'm saying there's an infinite mystery out there for us to explore and discover. Two, while knowledge is an essential requirement, knowledge is not finite. And interestingly, when the right knowledge hits us, it creates a sense of freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from the fear. That fear is also inbuilt into our system to help us survive. Okay, I'll stop here. Otherwise, I'll go on talking. Have I made sense? Any questions?
Yeah, we are waiting for anybody to share reflection.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Akila.
Okay, great. So how is process work different from psychology and other modalities of psychology like TA and sort of work that happens within that space?
Okay, I'm going to say something which might be slightly controversial, but we can discuss it not as a controversy, but as a unresolved difference. In the West, psychology came into being pretty short while back, actually, not very long back. The greatest amount of psychology is supplied by the religious books. Psychology, which we are familiar with when we say psychology, is, Freud and subsequent people. Freud is almost the Adam of psychology.
Psychology, yeah.
All right. And that's one school. Freud's school of psychology looks at psychology as if it is something that belongs to others. So in psychology, the psychologist and the one the psychologist is studying are two different entities. This is borrowed from physics. In physics, when you make measurements, you are sure that you are still and whatever else you're measuring is moving or can be measured. So there's something called a subject object divide. You are not being influenced by that which you are studying. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So psychology is a second person enterprise. Western psychology is a second person enterprise. They recognize, if I'm not mistaken, post Tavistock work, post Freud's work in around about the 20s, they do talk about projection and transference and counter transference, which is saying that when you're working with patients, what are you projecting onto the patient? Yeah. So actually, it is hypothetical to say, I'm studying you objectively.
Hmm.
This is a field in which objectivity does not exist.
Right.
It is subjective. Nothing wrong with that. Can we learn how to understand people and remain attached or detached by choice? So my own personal effort very strongly, and yoga also supports this. What little I know of yoga, Hari is better equipped. It is impossible for me to be objective, quote unquote. How can I extend, clean up my subjectivity such that I can understand and support the urge to evolve, the urge to grow that every human being is inherently endowed with, right? So, psychology, sociology, etc., they have gotten very heavily influenced by the natural sciences and they have continued to make an attempt to be objective in their work. And the source of that is very interesting, the source of that is very interesting. It's called knowledge without passion. It's all very good to have knowledge without passion. But if I say I have no passion, which means my feelings are not going to be operative or I am in full control of my feelings, which is a myth because every nanosecond of your existence, you are feeling something. So as I'm speaking, there are some feelings you do have. I have some feelings when I'm speaking. So we can recognize that and dance with it and use it to enhance our well-being, our dignity, our energy, our love, our curiosity. So much the better. So the process work that we are following consists of this as a core. So we have principles like self and system simultaneity. Very, very important in our process work. Right. So there are many schools. You are right. You hit upon a very, very important aspect. And I hope you will study it more deeply, and I'll be happy to support you in that endeavor because that's very close and resonant with my endeavor as well. In fact, our the problem of student suicides, which is quite wide now, is happening because the education system is completely enamored and controlled by this whole idea of knowledge without passion. So, what happens to the teachers when they're teaching? Huge amount of stress, and no college has an HR department. Have you ever thought of it? What happens to the poor teachers? We all take them for granted.
Sure.
And they get evaluation systems which are borrowed from NASA, which are killers for their promotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the price that the West is paying for this whole idea of knowledge without passion. The second huge philosophical difference is that we have a firm belief embedded in us genetically of saying, I am within you and you are within me. It's there in Upanishad after Upanishad, and we will demonstrate to you how that is operating when we do the work in TPPW. How each one of us contains all the other human beings in the world, and vice versa, how I am contained in all the other human beings in the world. Now, this sounds paradoxical when you think of the self as a body. You think of the self as a more than a body, in English, soul, or in Sanskrit, jivatma, then the whole picture changes, all right? And that is an unsolved paradox, if you were to say, from a Western point of view. To me, it's not a paradox. To me, it is the boundary of our knowledge. That's it. So it's a beautiful mystery. I would love to be able to solve it. If I can before I die. But it's such a lovely, such a
Interesting perspective and hadn't thought about.
hadn't thought about. Moving on, there's another question, Shushanto from Chavi. Would you share the question on the group itself?
So my question is, I think more a reflection, and I'm not sure if there's an answer specifically. Yeah. So the reflection I was having, listening in, was that the work in the lab is going to be about looking at ourselves as part of a process. And I'm wondering if any frame that we use will be enough, because any frame will also be static because it is modeled around a specific variables. And if everything is moving, then is the learning largely about the process of looking at processes versus looking at a frame to look at processes?
you got the answer. Why are you asking me a question?
Okay.
You're asking it as a question, but this is actually your own brilliant derivation. Process work is continuously to look at the process and recognize what is static and what is moving. You're on a actually very interesting cusp in your whole life, I think. Static is that which is eternal,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And it is because you see something static that you can say that that is other thing is moving.
Right.
Whereas most likely everything is moving.
Mm.
How do we accept that and what does it do to us if I say everything is moving?
Mm.
All right.
Mm.
I give you that put in a fabulous question. Let's see what happens to it in my
And you're leaving me more food for reflection with your answer.
yeah, beautiful. This is the work. We're already starting the workshop has started.
let's go around and what has the sharing by Shushanto evoked in some of you? What are you sitting on right now, thinking of, feeling right now?
Is this more effective in a one-on-one space or is it a group process?
Depends on what the aim of that interaction is. Effective for what? If you're doing therapy, yeah, coaching, then one-on-one process.
Okay.
But therapy and coaching both work even better in a group process. All right. So what I'm saying, I use in my coaching this principle and very much in groups as well. So this actually not a question of whether it's useful or better. It's not a tool. It's a perspective on existence that I'm offering.
Okay.
So everything is moving. Everything is moving. So there's no
Everything is moving. So, let me come in quickly on that, Maggie, that even in therapy and so on, there are one-on-one sessions before a person is introduced to group. So it's the timing and when.
the slight difference I would like to register here. Therapy, as defined by the books in psychology, talks of a return to the normal. Are you with me? I'm sorry, I hesitate to call you Maggie.
Margatavalli.
Much better, Margathavalli. I'll pronounce that. So, Margathavalli, therefore, therapy is a different ball game. It's a return to the normal. Process work, at least as I hold it, and I think so do Steve and Hari. Correct me if I'm wrong, both of you. Is really taking a step forward mentally, intellectually, emotionally, physically, socially. I'm looking for my growth and my evolution. Growth is becoming better adjusted, more effective, and evolution, as in being able to see a larger and larger span around me and in me. So that's where I hold process work distinctly different. I will send out an article which I had written in 97, I think, now, invited by ISABS. It's called What is Process Work? It's part of the readings list. We'll send it out right away. Hari, can you please make sure that this old man does it?
I'll share it. Yeah,
Thanks. You got it with you, no?
I have it. Yeah.
Ah, lovely. So please share it. Share it with the group right away. Yeah. So that definition, Margathavalli, is an old one. I stand by it, but it is also gotten enhanced to what I've shared here just now with you. Okay. So take a look at that.
Sure. Thank you.
Therapy is a different ball game.
Mm.
As I said, therapy is the the patient goes to the therapist because he says, I have no way out, and maybe you have the answer. All right. As process workers, I won't take on somebody with a mental illness where their adjustment has gone haywire. I will not do a practice of saying I will cure people. But although I've seen magical cures happening, but that's a medical model which I don't want to subscribe to. From therapy, this is different. I've known people who've been in therapy for a long time, having come to process work and have gotten better healed than they had with the therapy. Also, so as I said, therapy says return to normal. I'm saying, can we define the normal? Can we raise the bar of the normal? So, in effect, it can happen, but the targets are slightly different in the two.
Another question is coming up. Who's going next?
I'm happy to go next.
Please.
And Smita, I was just curious, Shanto, how important is identity in the realm of process work? And the reason why I'm asking this is, if we're saying that identity has a part to play, but it's not also very fixed. And if we're talking about growth, transformation, adaptation, that pretty much means that there is a component of flex in identity that needs to happen. Where and why is identity even important in all of this?
Identity, as the name suggests,
Hmm.
is an entity to work with. Are you with me?
Yep, I'm listening.
So, that makes it convenient for us to start the process of growth and evolution consciously. Otherwise, growth and evolution are happening in any case. There is a spirit in each one of us which demands that. Yeah. What is actually happening when I feel happy? I feel happy when I feel free. Free to do what? Free to become something more than what I am. Yeah. So identity is a convenient, what shall I say, convenient entity that we make. You have an identity. The fact is that this identity is also flexible. It can move, it can change by choice. In fact, in my OD practice, I use a title change by choice. Some people come into process work saying I need therapy, but mostly people come into process work, and even those who came in saying I need therapy discovered that the whole business of growing myself by choice has a great kick in it.
Hmm.
Kick, not in a not in a alcoholic sense, kick in as it gives me energy.
We also have another article on identity and FAQs Ashok had written. We could circulate that as well.
That'll be helpful. Thanks. That'll be helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Hari, just note. There's a question from Lipsa. Lipsa, will you share it in the group?
Yeah, I can. I'm just picking back my Vipassana practice, and therefore some of the discourses are a little fresh in mind. And I'm just beginning to grasp how observing our sensory or emotional experiences and their impermanence as a witness is a way of knowing oneself and other humans. The other thing that's also sitting with me is how this can't just be an intellectual understanding. One has to probably do the practice experientially to constantly build this. So in TPPW, will we also go beyond mental intellectual understanding? I just was curious about that.
Yes. Otherwise, TPPW cannot exist. So in TPPW, you are going to be your own guinea pig. Yeah, we'll take you through different structured exercises to open up levels of experience that we all are endowed with subject to. It's going to be experience and intellectual. The greater time will be taken up by the experiential, but the intellectual thing is what's going to also tie it up and increase your ability to take it forward by yourself. Actually progress with it. Start enjoying playing with it. Have I answered the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Who would like to go next?
I have a question. Sushanta, I hear you on the discovery of the unknown and how the unknown is so much more than what we know. I am at the same time, I think personally where I'm at is also like sometimes there are also things that we know. And I'm noticing like my own tendency to also dismiss what I know. So how does that balance of like discovery of the unknown with what we know? Or like I don't even know if my question makes sense right now, but
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense because here's the human being speaking. This is not the intellect speaking. Intellect is there, but it's the human being which has taken precedence over the intellect and stating the dilemma of the human being. And the dilemma which I'm seeing is the one that you spoke as a condition about your own feelings and estimate of yourself. What I am sensing just now, I may be wrong, is that you've gotten addicted to assessing yourself as much less than what you actually are. Either you've grown up in a culture in which humility was a value, and or for some reason, like me, you internalized low self-worth and underestimate yourself most of the time. Am I right?
yeah, that's where the question is coming from as well. Yeah.
That is what needs to be dealt with now. Process work would say, hey, let's deal with the main problem. This is the problem that's inhibiting you. So let's face it head on. So you can actually come to the workshop with your own growth targets. You'll do well to do that. Set yourself the targets. This is what I want to work on. I'm sure you go and
Okay.
punish yourself privately like nobody's business. Sorry.
The humor also lies there, I guess. But yes.
Yeah, you're reminding me of myself. Lovely question. Yeah, damn good.
This is Yash. Hi, Sushanto, Steve, Hari, and everyone. I was really holding myself back from asking this question. However, now with this interaction between Kirtana and Sushanto, that kind of prompted it. So this whole thing of what's known and discovering the unknown and things like that. And honestly, I don't even know if I want the question to be answered, but I'm just going to state it anyway. So there's like these multiple schools, right? There's NTL that talks about something. There's ISABS that talks about something. There's Tavistock and group relations that talk about something. So what is the Sumedhas school about? And the reason I'm saying I don't know if I want this question answered is because I want to keep that curiosity to discover it until the end of the program. But then I'm also kind of conflicted in saying, okay, I want to know a little bit right now. So yeah, that's where I am.
It's very important to have this question, and I'm glad you don't want a concrete answer per se. Develop your own answer. Yeah. Uh, I've had the privilege of having worked with one of the world's top tabby trainers, as he used to call them that time, Gordon Lawrence. I've worked extensively with Gaurango Chattopadhyay. He was my first internship lab facilitator in ISAB 1976. What I have discovered, and I'm quite comfortable with that, is that knowledge will not answer our soul's questions. Why am I saying this? Because I was quite amazed to discover from the around about 2000 onwards that progressively the philosophy which we live by is actually what's there in the religious books very clearly. I'm not saying this with any good or bad thinking about it. Why? Because religious books have taken upon themselves the task of answering the question of the unknown, which is why when we are caught surrounded by the unknown and frightened shit, sorry, language, we pray to God. So, since the unknown is more than the known, and we know that knowledge will not be able to answer all of that, might do so as well. But so we are heavily influenced by the religious philosophy of the community we take birth in. Christ is supposed to have said at one stage, look into your hearts and you will find me there. What does it mean? It means that God resides inside you, right? But the church's own work subsequently has kept God outside. And the dharmic philosophies, Buddhist, Sanatan, Jain, Sikhism, all these Eastern ones, they say that God is not only within you, but God is in you and you are in God. You are a continuum with cosmos. So human beings and God are in on some kind of a spectrum, on a continuum, and it's up to you to discover what you want to discover in that domain. I use meditation from time to time in my programs, and I was working with a group of the senior most faculty members of Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. So as I started the meditation exercise, one of the guys who had been praising my work and the program loudly and clearly, unequivocally, suddenly says, I can't do this. Asked him why. He said, I've given up my soul to the Lord. He was Christian, Chinese. And he says, I'm not going to do this meditation because I might pull myself back from the Lord. I said, okay, don't meditate. But he saw himself as different, separate from God. It's a matter of the choice one makes. Therefore, Western psychology is very heavily imbued with this. The education system is imbued with this. As I said, knowledge without passion. And whereas in the Eastern thought, human being without passion is not a human being at all. You have your feelings. How can you be ever any moment, any nano moment without any feelings? It's there within you all the time. So I can understand you're saying, I don't know if I want an answer per se. I want you to continue to struggle with this question, discover your own answer. I have shared with you the answer I have arrived at as of today. Okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks, Sushanta. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sushanta. When you were talking about the unknown, I was feeling the weight of it, and I felt very sad and actually melancholic uh, on the possibility that may not know anything about it at all. So felt like almost like suspended, falling. I don't know where I am falling. But felt good when you were saying that it's also exciting if I can crack it. So yeah, I share that optimism. Sometimes like a pendulum swing between melancholy and that hope. But so that's what I felt when I was listening to you.
Sometimes if you can manage, take a look at this work of an American professor who's personally disliked in their circles. He talks about learned optimism. Gaurav, maybe this is something you can work with, as you said, melancholy, etc. Work with it. Take it up as your own agenda as you come to the TPPW. Okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So I didn't really have a question, liked the flow of the discussion and kind of how it opened up the mind more to process work. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you in person. Thank you.
Anyone else?
What to share?
If not a question, a reflection of where you are, what's been shared, what's been discussed.
Yeah, when you were speaking about everything is in motion, what comes to my mind is the Prakriti and the Purusha. Is that something similar um, in in terms of a concept?
Hang on.
Okay.
Also Maya.
Maya.
Yeah. And Maya is a god's name. Huh? Maya is not what Englishmen have translated it as illusion and all that. I'm speaking of the same concept. I can say it in my language, but whenever I've explored the text, it's exactly that.
There's
The question on the seating arrangement, whether it is on mattresses and bolster or whether it's on chairs.
If mattress and bolster is much better for the health, unless somebody has a problem, specific physical problem. And if there are one or two chairs that we want to put in, we can do that. There's no issue. You might be surprised to discover that the mattress is better for you. I don't know the condition. Physics depends on physical condition, so I shouldn't be talking too much.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Those who haven't spoken yet, would you like to share where you are right now?
I have another question. Do you need to have any specific OD psychology background, or is it just open to anybody who would want to come in and experience process work?
I have no psychology background. I studied engineering.
No, not required.
So long as you have a back and you're standing on the ground, it's fine.
Great.
All that's needed.
Yeah.
What's your background?
Hospitality.
Great. We have a very active member in Sumedhas. What one? At least two who are from the hotel hospitality industry, hotel management as it used to be called earlier.
Falguni is asking if we have a double layer mattress, as sitting whole day gets difficult over days.
Yes, it will be thick. They do give us thick mattresses. Thick mattresses and both not comfort, convenience. And if you lie down also, I have no issues.
We will stand up also, no, in between.
Yeah. Anything. You can stand on your head also. Want to do C Shasan? How many of you have never been to a lab? Anybody?
All would have been for a lab, I would assume, Shushanto. But
And how many-
let's just confirm that. Is there any one of you who have not been for a lab before?
Yeah,
I've not been to a lab before.
Okay.
Who's that?
Lata.
Spoke.
He spoke.
Fine.
So a minimum of a lab is required, yeah? Unless you've
Good,
already
good.
spoken to Shushanto and he's
Highly desirable.
given the green light. Yeah. Swing back
Well
to
done.
Hari. Hari, you have any statement, anything to share?
I feel quite settled and ready to leave to Bangalore. But question wise, no questions, and feeling connected to everybody after listening.
Awesome. Now, pre-lab workshop basis, are there anything that logistically you wish to share with the group, apart from sending them the reading material? Anything else that you want to tell them?
You're asking Hari.
Bring a yoga mat if you can. That will be good. Morning we'll have a practice. We might have something there, but we don't know. So that will be
Don't
good.
think there are anything there.
So bring your own mat unless you like the floor a lot. Apart from that, I think logistically pre-reading materials will be shared soon after this webinar. And as earlier shared by Steve and Sushant, during those days to keep the container, better not to plan any work calls or anything in between or after the session. So maybe you can also plan to arrive in Bangalore accordingly if you have some other commitments. If there is any food related restrictions, please do inform me so I can check with the venue if there is anything they can do about it. That will be important if anybody has sensitivity. Chair will be arranged as earlier shared.
Bringing your own water bottle is a good idea.
Please bring your own water bottle.
If you don't, we'll supply you, but you'll get a plastic bottle.
That's all.
And maybe and
There's a Sumedhas book. No?
anything else logistically you need, this is the time to ask.
Sorry, one other question. I know we're all sort of committed to be in the program, but I suppose we do get time to answer calls and respond to work-related stuff during the breaks, because sometimes you need to be reachable.
We are not going to put police after you.
No, understand that, but just sort of checking in to make sure that.
No issues. You can call up home, you can call up your colleagues or whatever else you need to or respond to. The more you keep the attention point in mind, it's
Sure.
fair enough.
Yeah. Thanks.
Done.
If there are no other questions, we can also end early. Steve, anything to add from your end? Or Sanjay?
Sanjay, anything you want to state?
Listening to what has been shared so far adds to my hope, expectation, excitement to be there. So looking forward.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sanjay authored the Maharashtrian, right?
Actually, Jain from Rajasthan, but established in Maharashtra for 7 generations now.
Do. So I wasn't too off the mark. Chalo, achhi baat.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody feeling complete to close?
Yes, thank you.
All right. I'm
Thank
very
you.
glad
Yes.
it turned out to be a rather arousing conversation today. And let's work on it.
Thank you.
What time is the registration on the 8th?
11 o'clock.
Okay, starting at 11:30.
11:30 the session begins. So please arrive before to complete your registration.
Half an hour registration, they won't have time for tea.
Please arrive at 9 o'clock so that we can.
Yes. It means you have to come the night before.
11 o'clock is a tea break. Just come in at least 15 minutes before that so you can finish your paperwork
Okay.
and start having the tea and at least begin to see each other. I've not been able to see any of you except in the beginning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Bye.